Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Holistic Emails, Email and More, a Q&A with. As you know, every 2 weeks we showcase a different topic and have different expert panelists join us. As you know, it's not rehearsed. It's never, ever, ever rehearsed. And you, the live audience, get to ask us your burning questions about the topic at hand. I'm Aziola Sol. You should know me by now. I'm the senior consultant at Holistic Email Marketing, and I'm your lovely host and moderator for today. With me, I have Kath Pei, the lovely CEO of Holistic Email Marketing. There she is. I have April Mullen of Spark Post. And I have Samantha Ayodich. No, I got it wrong again. Ayodiche.
There you go. There you go.
Bam. of the Sauce Experiment. So our topic today is innovations in email. And whilst you're typing your questions into the Q&A area, I'm going to ask our panelists to just quickly introduce themselves. So I'm going to go straight to Samantha because she's actually newly created this agency called the Sauce Experiment. So please, Samantha, tell us more.
Thank you. Thank you. It's actually the Sauce Experience. So close. My name threw you off, Adiola. It's fine.
It did.
That's why I tried to come up with a simple name for the agency itself. So yes, I just started the Sauce Experience. We are now fully open and realized and focusing on email, of course, and digital marketing strategy, digital transformation, and everything having to do with customer experience. So that's my primary focus. And I'm very excited to talk about innovations and things and all those fun stuff.
Amazing. And April?
Yeah, I'm the director of brand and content marketing at Spark Post. That's actually a fairly new role for me. I've been an email geek for like the last, I think, 14-ish years. But because I was producing so much content on email marketing, and I work for an email company, Spark Post was like, you should take over brand and content. So now I'm rebranding the company and working on a lot lot So kind of a pivot.
That is amazing. Oh, nice.
And I co-founded Women of Email. I'm one of the co-founders.
I know, I saw. That's amazing. And anyone that is watching today and is a woman and is in the email marketing sphere, definitely look into Women of Email. It's a great network of women. Share lots of ideas and experiences, but we're not here to talk about that, but make sure that you look them up. And last but not least, we have Kath Pei. Please, for those who don't know you, Kath, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kath Pei. I'm CEO and founder of Holistic Email Marketing. We're a boutique consultancy and we love doing strategic work and helping our clients solve mysteries and solve challenges and all the rest of it. And, oh my goodness, as of like 2 days ago, I am now a published author. Woo!
Congrats.
So exciting. Yes. So it's now available on Amazon. The Kindle will be coming in a couple of weeks, but the paperback is available there. So
there you go. 2 resources for you. So Kath Pei's new book and Women of Email, check them out. Right. So thank you everyone for introducing yourself. I'm going to go and jump straight into our questions. So we're talking about innovations in email. So the first question is, does innovation need to be technical? And I'd like you all to answer this one if possible. I want to hear your thoughts.
All right, I'll go. No, it doesn't. I think innovation is a myriad of things. So it starts really with creativity. So you can't really apply technology until you're actually creative and think through the strategy. So I think you need to understand what your goals are, what your mission is, what problem are you trying to solve, back to Kath's mysteries. And I think that's why we probably all love this. I'm a huge mystery junkie. So I love solving them. I like being on the case. And I think creative solutions can be far more innovative than the actual technology. Sometimes, not always. I mean, there's some really cool stuff out there to use. And sometimes that creativity involves that technology. But I think it's creative solutions to common problems are typically going to be often the most innovative, at least to initiate that innovation curve.
100% agree with you, Sam. I really, really think that we, as marketers, need to be embracing the strategy more, right? And I think that's where we really, really get that innovation. And we tend to, though, I think we because I've referred to this so often, because we're so busy, we go for those quick fixes, and we therefore seem to latch on to technology, because there's, I mean, in email, we are blessed with so much innovative technology. And so we kind of just grasp that. We just reach out for that. We just say, great. And then we just go, great, we've introduced something that's, you know, innovative, and it's working well, and it's exciting, and it's good, and it's different. But we forget sometimes that we are, like you said, the source of the creation of ideas and everything, because we're the ones that know our customers. And so we can always be, you know, calling upon our expertise and our knowledge and our experience and our problem solving, you know, ability. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm a huge fan of panels where there's like a little bit of, you know, nice tension of like people disagreeing a little bit. But on this one, absolutely, completely agree, because, you know, the creativity is really the starting point. I mean, technology, the whole reason that technology exists is because someone was creative enough to push an idea far enough to go, how can we make this happen?
Yeah.
And they use technology to do it. I mean, even going all the way back to the wheel. I mean,
Yeah.
That was someone creatively thinking and like applying that to create something real to solve a problem. So huge fan of innovation being driven by, you know, problems, and then how can a creative idea help solve that? And if technology is eventually the way that you execute it, fine. But I think it's always good to start with the creative and strategic thought.
Yes, yes. And also I'm you know, again, just posing a little question here. How are you on the whole idea of, hey, there's some new, you know, wonderful, innovative sort of technology, how about we trial it? Are you for or against that, you know, for or against that? Because for me personally, I'm kind of like, well, you've got to have that need first. You've got to have identified what that need is and whether you think it's going to, you know, address it and help you with that problem. But, you know, I have seen on occasion where it's just like, this is a great solution, let's give it a whirl. And it works. You know, because there are, I guess, some, you know, very generic ones out there. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I think you're right. You do have to have a need for it. But speaking from someone who I love new stuff, and I always want to play with it, and I always want to test it and tinker it. But I think also too, the benefit of working with multiple clients is there's probably a client that can benefit from it. So I get to play with it. But that's a different thing. You know, if I'm running just one brand, then it's like, oh, how can I make that work? And is it the goal of making some technology work, or will it solve my problem? So I agree on that front for sure. But I do always want to find a way to play with new toys.
I'm definitely with you, Sam. I think sometimes it's nice if there's something new on the market and it could potentially help bolster sales or increase engagement. It's nice to give it a try. It doesn't mean you have to adopt it fully, but it's nice to always be able to just dip your toe in and see if it's something that could be applied to the wider strategy rather than just ignoring it altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. And being aware. I mean, that's why we've got this panel on, so that you're aware. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even something like AMP, I'm a huge fan of AMP. I know not everyone is a fan of it, but I love AMP. But the first thing I did before I started evangelizing that it would be an interesting innovation was I went to, what are the use cases and pain points that this can solve? Not for the marketer, but for the end customer. So then I was like, oh, this would be great for like real-time customer service, to like take feedback in real time. And so it still went back to that strategy and figuring out like, what is the benefit and the value to the customer in the end.
We actually have a point that's come through Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
Hey, Matt.
He said, to Kath's point, most email marketers are relatively conservative about trying new tech or innovations compared with marketers in other fields, and then in brackets, IMHO. And then potentially, are we too overworked that we're not in a position where we can easily have the, you know, the span to adopt or to look at adopting different forms of tech? What do you guys think about that?
I think that's part of my job as a consultant actually, is to help the overworked email marketer, because they are. I don't think I've ever met one that wasn't. They have to do, they're either juggling a million things or doing 3 different jobs because they can't have a team large enough for them. So that's where I come in and I help them make that balance. Like, here's where we can use whatever we want to play with, or here's where we can maybe eventually after we do some other things, because often you need to do some things to work up to some new technology to make it beneficial. But yeah, no, I totally sympathize. Been there. I think all of us have been there at some point.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Marketers are overworked and under-resourced in general. So for them, and that's one of the appeals, I think, for innovation in technology, because it's designed to make their jobs easier. But at the same time, they still need to spend time on getting the buy-in, building the case, implementation, working out the strategy, you know, so it still is time consuming in the setup of it, albeit in the long term, there's a very good chance that they're going to be, you know, once they've proven it, that it works, it's going to be paying, you know, wonderful dividends. But interesting that you mentioned AMP straight away, April, because you were talking about that. You like to have that little bit of debate and everything. I am one of those. I'm not against AMP, not at all. And I'm working with a client at the moment who's enthralled with it, and he's using it to very good effect, and it's really, really helping him. My issue is, and it's exactly what you were just saying then. I know I came up to your Spark Post, you at your Spark Post conference after the AMP panel, and I said, yeah, this is my problem. So my problem is that there's a lot of marketers who are just out there going, this is a new shiny toy, let's use it. And they haven't actually built that the business case for it. They haven't actually identified the real need. And of course, exactly as you said, I think the huge benefit that AMP has is that it can enhance the customer experience. But sometimes we do it just because we can. And that's when it will fall flat. And also with AMP, I know, again, there's some huge advocates out there who are just going, this is going to change, you know, email marketing. This is email marketing 0.40, you know, or 4.0 and whatnot, you know, all the rest of it. I am slightly more skeptic. It is easier to be implementing than Hotmail Active Views, which came out 10 years ago. Hands up here, who knows or has used Hotmail Active Views? No. No.
Never.
You know, there are some big companies who invested a lot of time and resources and everything into it, and it just went away just because it's really, really hard. I mean, Gmail is in a good position because of the, you know, its market share, but Hotmail back then, 10 years ago, was also in an awesome position. It was actually leading over Gmail, and it still went nowhere. So, you know, kind of, for me, it's a bit of a watch this space.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the announcement recently by Salesforce that they're going to build it into the platform might help with more adoption, because I think part of the problem has been tools to make it easy to build.
Yeah, and you have to have a separate line of code on top of your HTML in order,
and also you have to have a way to host the backend data, and that just was really hard to create. You also have to get whitelisted in advance with the mailbox providers that will let you build it. So it's very labor intensive. So I think if we as an industry can figure out how to make that process easier, the data hosting, like almost like a WYSIWYG for data. I don't even know how you would go about building that. But if we can start to make that process easier. And maybe with large companies like Salesforce getting behind it, maybe we'll solve it. I don't think it's like something that's going to be solved immediately, but it has to be easier. Otherwise, marketers just aren't going to have time. And I think that's why adoption has not been huge, by the way.
Right.
It's just too hard. The barrier to entry is too hard.
Yeah, I came across it in the summer of last year, and I was actually quite excited about it. I thought it would be a great piece of tech, and actually Matt has pointed out that it's a Gmail innovation and not necessarily an email innovation, which yes correct. But it can be, and it's used in essence to help alleviate or at least enhance the email customer journey. And I thought to some degree in publishing, that's where it kind of was birthed in terms of helping publishers. And there was this whole idea of publishers that were trying to gain more subscriptions, or it would be a great way to alleviate pain points. So all of the transactions can be done obviously within the email. And I thought that was quite exciting, especially for the company I was working for at the time, where they don't have a paywall. So they rely heavily on subscriptions or contributions. It's a great way to facilitate that conversion without them having to go through the clunky website in order to convert. But again, as much as the idea of it sounds fantastic, like, yes, we can get the conversions with an email, it's great. It needed so much more tech and development to bring to life. So I guess maybe, you never know, in a year's time, 18 months, if Salesforce manages to get a way to seamlessly package everything together so it doesn't become a pain point for the actual marketer, there may be more adopters. But then if that does become the case, who knows, you might then start having battles with your e-commerce team, because if everything is being done within the email and there's not that much traffic going to the site, then we have internal wars. So
okay, yes, so that brings us on to another track which I want to talk about. But I just want to bring this point up. So Brian has just said that the Microsoft version now is actually called actionable messages. So this brings us up to another challenge, right? Remember, we were just talking about those time poor, overworked email marketers, and now having to do, if they want to be using this, actionable messages for their Hotmail database, and then they're going to be using AMP for their Gmail database. So that's adding twice as much effort into what they're currently doing. So, again, the easiest way to actually be doing it, I believe, would be in your automated programs, right? Because it's a set it up once and it's going to be working, and it can work for, them as and when needs. But again, there's still going to be some difficulty. But not to steal this conversation, but your point was really, really relevant then. What was your point I was talking about? Can you remember, Abiola?
Oh, me? Oh. Do you mean internal wars?
Internal wars, yes. Okay, okay. So I've done a lot of thought, so I've been talking about this for 10 years since Hotmail Active Views came out. And I was excited. And then I started sort of doing some analysis and started really understanding about the customer, how they use email and all the rest of it. I personally, with everything that I've read, researched, all the rest of it, I'm not sure. So just to do one little thing within an email, yes, and give them the full shopping experience within an email. Let's go back to the original purpose of an email. An email is to drive traffic to the landing page. It's actually not there to sell. That's going to revolutionize or transform email completely. We're going to have to learn a completely new skill. And you know what? So are the consumers. And I'm not sure that that's going to be possible. Maybe over time, absolutely.
So yeah, and I think it's happening. Like Instagram has introduced shopping.
Exactly. And I think it's
but that's a different thing altogether though. Social, people go, I'm going to spend 15 minutes here on social, and then they end up spending 2 hours on social, right? We know how that works. Email is different. Email is, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to move, because think about email. Email is an incredibly busy channel. Instagram, it's a case of You're done when you're done, and then you move on to the next one. Same with Facebook. Email, you're there in your inbox and you're getting messages. I've got a new message coming in. I've got a new one. Oh, here's one from my mom. Oh, here's one from my boss. I better go check them. So you jump off that. You're halfway through buying something. You jump off that and you go and check that, you know, because it's a push channel, right? So you go and check that message. You've abandoned that process. Whereas if they had instead taken you to the landing page, you're now in a very safe, quiet environment in that push or in that pull channel as such. You haven't got any, you know, sort of banner ads. You've got no messages coming. You're just looking at there and you can finish your activity. So all I'm saying, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm saying it will take a massive change with email marketers as well as the consumers and their particular shopping habits and everything. And I'm not talking about the small little things like filling something in and using AMP in the form, right? I'm talking about something that takes more time.
Big, massive change, yeah. But I also think people, if mobile devices haven't proven anything else, is how highly adaptable and how quickly people adapt. So, you know, the constant innovation that is occurring in the devices that people have in their hands every single day. Regular people who are not us, who are not marketers, who are not necessarily even technology savvy, their behavior has completely changed and altered. I mean, my boomer mother, who just was like not interested in texting, she texts now, and she texts a lot, and she figured out emojis, and she shops online for her mom. So being able to like open an email and shop online will probably be that one step easier for some people. So I think it just depends. And I think the capability of people to transform their behavior is so immense that I don't think that's the limitation itself. I think more it's the implementation of it. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of effort that needs to happen. And I think primarily the most important thing is, I'm back again to shiny objects and really enjoying playing with tech. Will it really benefit you in your product and your business and your email channel? What's that benefit that you're looking to gain? And is that the way to actually do it? You know, there could be some live content items that will serve the purpose easier and more simply than AMP. But I do think, to April's point, I do think there's some really interesting things that could be done with AMP. It just has to be applied where appropriate. So the effort can be absolutely worth it and will totally pay for itself, probably tenfold if it's applied appropriately.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I love this. I love the juicy conversations that we're having. Okay. So I do have a question. What is the innovation in email marketing that gets you excited in 2020 or even 2021? Because 2020 is almost done.
It is.
And a lot of the stuff that we've been doing this year is probably quite responsive marketing, crisis marketing. So what gets you excited maybe for this year and also next?
You know, I think for me, and I'm not backing any product, I'm just touting that Zembla came out with some animation functionality that I'm very excited to see in action next week. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what they can do, because I think anytime you use something, it's not even just motion, it's something interesting. If you're applying this technology in a creative application that's going to gain enough attention for people to actually look at the content or what you're trying to do, I think that's really powerful. And sometimes it's the most simple thing that is actually the most innovative. So even though we've been able to do GIFs, we've been able to do, you know, you can do videos and emails sort of, you know, we can take people to landing pages to have great experiences, but having them inside of that email, I think, is a really powerful place to do it. And the more we can do those things and have that actual interaction element, I think just increases not only the customer experience, but the engagement level and the actual conversion level, obviously.
Yeah.
Because if you're interested in something, if something's really exciting and you like playing with it, then you're going to go back and do it. I think, was it Mark Robbins who did, he did like some email game all in HTML code, and it was just for us nerds. But I mean, how exciting was that? I mean, I saved that email for like ages and constantly went back to it and played it because it was so much fun. And I thought, how creative are you? I mean, he's one of the most brilliant developers ever in email, which is great because I think that it's just the limitations are only as much as you let them be a limitation. And I think that's what things like that teaches me, is how can you apply something that you might not have applied the way it was intended, but how could it be applied?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I sit. I'm excited about animations and stuff like that.
And just to add on to that, one, I'm totally with you and love seeing how, moving images can be applied within email. Zambula are actually having a webinar, not to steal our own limelight, but this is also to share and give knowledge. The webinar is tomorrow. So if anybody wants to also see that in action, I suggest you kind of like do a little search, check it out, and feed your minds, learn what's coming up, and see if you can apply it to your own businesses. Because it's always great to know what's out there and what's going on. This is what this webinar is all about. So April, what gets you excited? Not in that way, but
so there are two, and they may not be the shiniest objects, but there are two that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. Beyond, I've already said that I love AMP, is Bimmy and dark mode. So when I see a dark mode, okay, I'll start with dark mode, because that's the one that like is super exciting.
It is.
So when I see a dark mode email, I am like, wow. Like, I don't know, I have like a reaction to it. It's just so stunning. And I don't know if it's actually stunning or if it just like catches my eye because it's so different. I know there's a load of like issues with dark mode in turn, like, again, going back to poor email marketers, they just get piled on with like this lack of standardization, and some environments support this, some don't, and dark mode only kind of adds to that pile. But I think it can be, I think we'll see more of it in 2020, 2021. Oh my gosh, this year went by fast.
I know. It went slow and fast.
it did. It was like every day it's like, oh, it's 2020. But then like I look back and I'm like, wait,
it's done.
Not much longer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So dark mode is definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on. I think it's kind of exciting. It's also for like a really, again, coming back to customer experience. I'm a huge fan of looking at what drives good customer experience. That the whole reason it was created was because of screen fatigue and people staring at bright lights, and it makes you tired and it like strains your eyes. Dark mode gave people another option. So I love the whole sentiment behind it.
When I see someone that has dark mode on their phone, I'm always like, what are you hiding? Because
no, it just helps you read it better.
So it's like those people in the office that have those like privacy screens.
Yeah. I always said
that. Why are you hiding?
Hiding everything.
Do you feel
secrets?
Do you feel like
dark mode is also good for ADA compliance? So especially like financial institutions or places that have a heavy load on that. What am I thinking of? That word. Sorry, I'm losing a word. Transactional emails. Sorry.
Right.
They have a heavy load on transactional emails that they have to or are required to deliver. So things like statements, things that are hard to read, especially if you have a vision disparity. The dark mode actually really helps that. Having that high contrast flipped is much clearer for eye issues. So for two reasons, not only does it look super cool, actually three, super cool, less eye fatigue, and you're helping people who have trouble seeing see. Yeah. And my father's one of those people. So dark mode really helps him.
Yeah. Okay. And it's not just an email trend. It's an overall user experience trend happening everywhere. Like you're going to see a lot of social platforms, different web interfaces that start to turn to dark mode. So
Facebook, Instagram, they all have, like, I tried the Facebook dark mode and it weirded me out though. I was so used to it being white.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Cass, what do you think about that? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No. You've got the other point. Go ahead.
Oh, well, and then Bemi, only because, and a super shallow response, because the logo shows up in the inbox. Like I'm just fascinated to see if that actually has an impact on.
Well, it's twofold impact. So you get that it's like certified delivery.
Yes.
Yep.
Because
Exactly.
you have to be validated, which I think is the high point for the business, for the brand itself.
Yes.
But I agree with you. Seeing the brand in the email, I think I don't even think that's surface level vain in any way. It's that thing I'm looking for. And I immediately recognize it because of the logo. And then you get that additional brand recognition, which is just, even if people are scanning their inboxes and not opening, it's like a double whammy. So instead of just seeing, my favorite store's name in the from, I'm also seeing the logo. So I'm getting that extra impression. So I think that's really important. So I'm with you on that too.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think Bimi's great for everything that you guys have just said. Dark mode does nothing for me. So it's a subjective thing. I understand that. Whereas
it doesn't get you excited, Kath. No,
but that's my son Jonathan, who even before February when he had an incident, and now he has trouble with his eyes. Even before then, those were the kind of things that he latched onto, and he, so he geeks out on it. And it's just, it's just very, very clearly shows me it's a preference thing. It's what suits you, the individual. And so I think, the more we can make available for each and every individual and, situation. And as you were saying, Sam, it's great for accessibility and everything like that. So yeah, I have no issues about it. I'm just not raving about it. That's all. So mine is something really I find incredibly exciting. Hence why I'm giving it to you, because it's I think it's an exciting innovation. What I have really, and I've been speaking on this about all year really. I've been noticing marketers are actually looking at their customer database and treating them as unique individuals and with empathy. They're actually going, what do my customers in this environment, in this current crazy pandemic-ridden, or everything else that's happening in the world, politics and everything like that, what do they want to hear from us? And instead of just churning out the same stuff, instead of just doing the same thing, they're actually, what you were saying, Adiola, you were sort of saying we're kind of responsive. So they're responding in a way that's actually benefiting the customer. They're not just saying, well, for us, it's just, marketing as normal. We need to make money. They're actually stopping, pausing, reevaluating, redesigning, re-strategizing, and all the rest of it. And you can see that with so many programs. And I personally find that because that is innovation. They're kind of,
definitely,
there's a need. What are we going to do in response to this need? We're going to do this. So yeah, so it's not quite as probably as sexy as some of these tech ones, but yeah.
No, I actually think there's a huge, I'm sorry, Adiola. There's a huge sexiness to it though, because what I think is sexy is thought. So, it's whatever is thought provoking and people actually thinking about the consideration of other people. I think it's long overdue. A pandemic had to stop us in our tracks to force us to remember that these are human beings and that there's things happening in their lives. And I hope that they don't forget that.
Yes.
That's the concern for me in the post-pandemic world is, okay, we're going to go back to our old habits. Well, no, they're still humans and they still have different needs. Even though there might not be a pandemic overarching, it's still going to take a whole long time to get out of it. People are still unemployed. People are still, homeschooling their children and didn't plan on it. Those poor people. I feel so bad for. But if you didn't walk into homeschooling, it's not something you want to be forced to do. So, there's a lot of turbulence still in the world, and there will continue to be for a while, I think. So remembering the empathy and the humanity that we need to express as marketers is very important.
Absolutely. What do they say about a habit? Well, I mean, it's not like it was just a 1 month thing. We've been doing this now for almost a year. So I am hoping it is. I think I'm hoping it's going to be that they've found a new skill, a new desire, that kind of thing, rather than it just being, okay, yeah, great, everything's back to normal. We'll just, bring out the rest of the stuff that we've always done. And
so
also,
there's two questions on that. One, do you think marketers have really internalized the empathy that you're discussing, or is it the shared personal circumstances? So in essence, we're all going through the same thing right now, so that's where it comes from. But perhaps, yes, once the vaccine has been disseminated, are we all going to go back to the hard sell?
Well, I think that's exactly I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. I was just going to say that was exactly my point, though. Like, are we just internalizing because we're all experiencing the same thing? But once we're not all experiencing the same thing, is it all going to go to the wayside? But to Cass' point, I hope that we are adopting this approach in a different way and thinking and considering our audience in a different way. And it could be through different segments. I mean, obviously segmentation is going to be there for a very long time. So, there might be segments where we can kind of almost go back to what we were doing, but should we? So I agree. Sorry, go on. I won't interrupt you.
And also, actually, on that, April, perhaps, because it's a good point that's been raised, I guess it just depends. We can start having more content on the empathetic side of marketing and looking at, Kath and I have spoken about it before in the past, it's like helpful marketing. So not everything is necessarily driven by sales, but looking at the needs of the customer and creating campaigns that helps, facilitate their needs. There could be more literature on this style of marketing because it is very sales driven at times. So it's nice to see the tone has changed, but yes, to carry on into the new year and beyond, there has to probably be more dialogue on that so that people, it's ingrained, just as how everyone learns how to calculate an email open rate, and everyone now knows that automation is key and welcome emails are best. It's one of those things that might have to be grained in as a practice.
And I think there's a little bit of a tailwind behind us to help cement this, and that is, I think, the demise of the third-party cookie, as well as IDFA going away. The email address becomes more important. So it used to be, time and time again, working with clients, you would see the advertising teams getting all this money to just keep rinsing and repeating, acquiring the same customers over and over and over again. And the email team getting the short end of the stick and not getting enough investment. And no, you can't automate your data. I mean, thankfully, we're mostly over that hump. But I think we can kind of force our hand a bit in making people see that, like, this is actually really important, that you have to have empathy and human-centered marketing and put more investment on your retention side of the house, which includes email, because you are going to have a much harder, more expensive time reacquiring customers because, hey, all the ways that you used to identify them is starting to disappear. Now, of course, things will come in to replace that. But for now, it's like email address is kind of the only thing standing right now, or not right now, but like within the next couple of years. Like Google has not said what they're going to replace the third-party cookie with. So I think we can make a business case for it. Like, look, if you don't care about other humans, fine, but there's like actual revenue reasons for doing this.
Yeah. Here.
And what you were referring to, Adiola, I think that you and I talking a lot about this is, and we've talked about it in past ones, is what I call helpful marketing, which is basically just helping your customer to achieve their objective. So it's really, really simple. In order to do that, you have to think about the customer, you have to understand the customer, and you have to be marketing to them. And according to how, what's going to help them best. And once you start to do that, you're going to find out that this whole, buy, sell mentality goes out the door because they're in conflict with each other. So I think if everyone starts to sort of latch onto and understand fully the whole helpful marketing concept, then, it naturally lends itself to the empathy, to the human approach and everything. So that's how I see it as well.
You know, that reminded me of something. So last week in a conversation about Shipageddon for the holiday season, the problem that will probably happen with shipping, it's going to like freeze and freak out, and everyone's going to panic because they're not going to get things in time. So they're trying to get people to shop early, which I do think is a true concern. It's real. I don't think marketers are making that up. You know, at the beginning of the pandemic is the perfect example. It took forever to get everything. Amazon's, you know, 24-hour, 48-hour rule was completely out for the longest time. So that is potentially going to happen if people continue the same buying behavior that historically they have. But what I'm curious about for the holiday season is that going to actually be the same? I think there's going to be a lot of different patterns that we haven't seen. And I'm I can't wait for Black Friday. Like, I'm very excited about it. Although a lot of businesses, Amazon, Target, they've been doing Black Friday for a month. Special things per day, per week, whatever. Which is smart because they're trying to get ahead of things. How successful those have been, I don't know. I mean, I have maybe purchased a few things on this Black Friday stuff, but I'm intrigued to see how this pans out and how it compares to previous years, because I think that's really going to give us a good reflection of what we can anticipate in the next year. So, you know, January 1, I'd love to have a chat about that. Once we have some data, maybe January 15th.
I mean, there's just been so many. I've done a few podcasts and webinars and everything on the shopping, you know, in the holiday season. Shopping and what can marketers expect and everything. And it is like, it comes down to there's so many variables that have changed. So it's all a huge mystery. You know, you've got a record number of unemployed people who are, you know, are suffering on a day-to-day basis, not even having food, much less in going, oh, I'm going to buy a new TV. And then you've got other people who are, you know, they've changed, they've swapped from their regular supplier to another supplier because they were possibly more, you know, empathetic, or they were able to deliver better, or, you know, whatever the story is, or they weren't closed, they're actually open. And then you've got other people who have never shopped online before, or shopped online minimally, and they're being forced to shop online. So there's kind of like, whoa. So much happening.
Someone on my team previously, she's younger than me, but she was not an online shopper. She liked going to stores. It was kind of, well, she has children, so it was getting away from the kids too, I think, is part of it. You know, that was her time. But now she's had to do that. And the first like month I had to really help her. She's like, how do you do that? What do you do to get that to deliver? Like, you know, everyone's had to adapt, and it's a strange thing. It's been a very interesting, if you take the drudgery and difficulty out of the year and how hard it's been, just from a psychological and marketing perspective, it's been an incredibly interesting year to see all this behavior change. And, you know, and I think that comes full circle for April to AMP. If everyone can change this way, they're going to be able, you know, changing and doing something inside of an email might be actually a smaller leap than we think it is. Maybe pre-pandemic, it would have been a much harder leap. But I'm seeing it not be so difficult now because we've seen all this change. But maybe that's my hope and positivity.
So on that, there is a question that's come through. Sam, do you have any predictions about how Black Friday is going to go this year?
Ooh, I don't know if I have a prediction. I'm very excited to see how it's going to go. I do think actually people are probably hoping to find really good deals for the things that they really need to get. So that one item for their kids that they really don't want to let them down, they're going to be looking for the best offer. And that and Cyber Monday, I think, are going to be key. I feel like parents actually have the hardest mission this year. And they're the ones that, you know, because for me, the holidays are always about kids. It's about family, but it really, you know, the excitement in kids' eyes are always very exciting. And I love that part. I'm the auntie, so that's my favorite thing. So I think there is still going to be some big sales. If it's going to be bigger than last year, I'm apprehensive to say that that would be true. But I do think it's going to be a big day, but maybe not as big as last year. That's a hard one. That's a hard to say, because I really do think people are looking for the best offers they can possibly get to pinch every penny. Because budgets are definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree, because, think about it. I personally think that there's going to be a lot more practical purchases rather than luxury purchases.
Yeah.
However, you then go and have a look at this other point, which is in the UK, the way they've gone and done it, there's a lot of people who are actually better off than usual.
Yeah.
Because they're getting furlough and they're not doing anything, so they've got more time to spend, and they're shopping and stuff, but they're not having to work to actually earn any money. You've got some self-employed people who are actually getting bonus from the government in addition to they're allowed to work. So they're actually getting possibly double the amount of money. And then you've got the other extreme where no one's getting anything. So it really, really is hard to make a forecast. Because there's lots of,
there's so many different elements that were completely not in the place before. Yeah.
And I think there's a bigger push this year for shopping small business. In the spirit of keeping small businesses open. So Etsy, I'm not sure if they have Etsy in the UK. Are you familiar with it? You do? Okay, perfect. Like, they're showing commercials this year. I've never seen commercials, and they put them on TV, and they have several of them rotating. And one of them was the grandparents FaceTiming with their grandkids and opening their gift from Etsy. And I was like, is that water in my eyes? This whole spirit of it's a hard year, support small business. So I think we'll see interesting things like that. Like Etsy will probably have a gangbuster year.
I'm finding out one of our clients is not on the high street, which are kind of like an Etsy, so based in the UK.
Okay.
And what they do is they sell all products that are made by, small businesses, i.e. one-off supplier and everything. And they're all handcrafted and everything. So, and I'm seeing on my, so I know that they're actually doing, it's doing well, because that's exactly as you said, April. People are wanting to support the small businesses. And then even on my, I belong to local community Facebook groups and everything. They're all like, okay, I want to support. Who here has a small business? And can I support you? What can I buy from you? Are you selling gifts and things like that? So you can see that there is that real desire to do that, which is nice. So that means that the consumers are also showing the empathy as well.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and I think I always try to buy local as much as I can, because I think that's really important, investing in your own community and your own people. But Etsy is the next best thing. Because it could be someone down the street from me, or it could be someone, in Canada or in the UK, but still it's a individual. It's not some big corporation. I don't think they're even allowed. I don't think big corporations are allowed to be on there. They're supposed to be individual, handcrafted specialty items, things like that. And that's what makes them so special. So that's a very good point. And it's reminding me that I need to check some things out locally and see if they're open.
Amazing. And so I want to try and squeeze in this last question before we run out of time, and let's try and bring it back to the topic at hand in terms of innovation. So with all of this that we've discussed today, what would you say would be your key tip for those marketers that are watching and for those that are going to watch on demand, in terms of how can they move forward in the new year by making their emails more innovative? So whether they take on those email innovations or not, what would you recommend? What would be that tip that you'd give to your fellow marketers?
For me, the first step is always, you have to see what's happening. So history tells the future, if you're looking at it right.
I like that.
So you need to look at, how have you been doing? Where do you see that you could improve? I hate saying low-hanging fruit. I think there's a better term for it, because I think we hear that way too many times. But there is always something that is a super simple change that's going to just make this huge impact. and doing that review, or, getting someone to do that review for you it's a powerful thing that can be much more innovative than technology. It could actually help you learn how to use your technology better that you already have. And I think that's actually an interesting point I want to throw in there, is I think people don't realize the power of the technology they have most of the time, because sometimes it's just difficult. It can be a little cumbersome, but once you get it all together, it can be magical. So, having some extra insight into just what you currently have and how to use it better could really make a deep impact in the next year for you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to build on that, because I would like to build on and say that, we would normally go back to our good old year on year, which is great because that's what we've always done. This year is not comparable though, is it? So we can't look at year on year. We can only look at this short little sort of, period as such. And on that basis, then what we really need to be doing is doing some fresh new A/B testing to find out what is and what isn't working. And that's where you're going to be getting some really clear uplifts, and you're going to be able to, using a hypothesis, you're going to be actually identifying why they're getting an uplift and why it's working. And then that's going to give you fuel, not just for email, but you could be, understanding that and imparting that into your social channels, your website, and all the rest of it too. So I think the A/B testing for me would be the key factor that I would be tip that I would be saying is really crucial.
I like that one.
Yeah, I do too. And I would say this is probably more for the leaders, but give your teams the budget, the bandwidth, whatever it is that you can give, to let them try things without penalty. It's I think sometimes email marketers, they face so much pressure to drive the revenue, to drive the subscriptions and various things, and obviously that's important. But in this kind of new world, we need to be able to dip our toe into things and try them and test, as Kath mentioned, and do that without penalty. It's a whole new world. I think it has been the year of pivoting nearly every week. I mean, even on my side, on B2B, I'm having conversations with my CEO, what are we going to say about this? Because if we don't say something, we're going to, it's just been a crazy year. And so give your teams and even encourage or require your teams to spend a certain amount of their time testing and learning and trying out new innovations or strategies that are going to help move the needle, but also just create better engagement. Oh, we lost Adiola.
Adiola's gone. Okay. Well, I want to actually, Matthew's just asked a question. Says, why is my hair moving? he didn't quite word it like that, but that's it. My hair is moving because it's so hot where I am. I've got a fan on, okay? So I'm not sure what's happened to Adiola, but I think we're almost done as far as questions and everything go. There is Matthew's just given me a smile. Okay, so there's one last question. What's the one piece of advice that has nothing to do with email to make sure marketers prevent burnout during the next 45 days? That's a really, really great question. What's the thing that can help them to not lose their minds?
Alcohol. I had to.
Is that during or after?
Yes.
Or both?
So yeah, I tell the people on my team, I know it's really hard right now, especially when you're staring at a screen all day and we're in back-to-back meetings. I'm like, if you get a break, go for a walk. If you need to take 20 minutes, I even tell my teams, if you need 20 minutes to take a nap, take a nap. If it means you come back online refreshed, don't feel like you have, just as you would if you were in the office, you'd stop by the proverbial water cooler or the actual water cooler. You don't get that when you're at home. So throw a ball in the yard for your dog, take a quick cat nap, just let me know you're logging off for a minute. That's fine. we're all working crazy hours. So as long as we're getting the work done, I don't care when it gets done.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that's the perfect advice. You have to take time for your self-care, as people like to say. You have to take care of yourself, and however you need to take care of yourself is how you should do it. And I think because of the working from home predominantly, I know some people have gone back to offices depending on where you live, but what working from home allows you to do is that flexibility. You know, I can go take a nap on the sofa or in my room. Like, I don't even have to, like, I don't have to hide. I can go anywhere I want in my home
go
house.
under the desk.
Yeah, right. I can take a walk, you know, all of those things. And I think sometimes just walking away, like you said, 10, 20 minutes, an hour, get away, eat some food, do whatever you need to do. But take that time for yourself, because it will still be there in an hour or in the morning. You know, it will always still be there.
Always. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And I think I've heard some horror stories where there are employees who, because they're not used to working from home. And as someone who has worked from home for many, many years, I've got it down to a fine art. You know, you have to have an entrance, you have to have an exit. There has to be a shut off, and you have to, you know, put that discipline in. But whilst, you know, we're all there, we're conversing and everything, you've got some employees who are still working at 10 p.m. at night, and they're not shutting down at all, and they are going to burn out. So my advice would be to give yourself a routine, make yourself a routine. And if that includes a 20-minute nap in the middle of the day, then so be it. But make sure you still go, okay, I'm going to get at my desk at whatever o'clock. And then I'm going to be leaving by whatever o'clock, right? And, you know, if you have the luxury, and I know there's so many people that don't, but if you have the luxury of being able to close the door behind you, then absolutely brilliant. The next best thing, though, is to actually just turn your computer off. You know, not put it to sleep, because, you know, but turn it off, and do it that way, because otherwise, you will burn out. So that was a great question. Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, well, sorry for my disappearing act, but this is now all that we have time for. We've actually come to the end of the session of the webinar. So thank you, guys. That was great. And thank you for keeping the momentum going while I died and came back to life. I want to thank everyone that attended the event live, and to all of those in the future that are going to watch it on demand. Thank you. Really hope you found this useful and insightful. And of course, I want to give a massive thank you to our speakers for sharing their experiences with us. So thank you, guys. Really appreciate you. If you want to catch up on the previous emails and more that we've had, you can find them on YouTube. Just search email &more. You'll find them all there. And please don't forget to like them, share them, and give us your feedback. If there's something that you'd like to see differently, please let us know. We're very open to change. So thank you, everybody, for your time today with us, and we hope to see you again on the next one. Bye.
Bye. Bye.